All right, shalom, shalom, Mr. Carr.
Shalom, shalom.
All right. It's good to see everybody here tonight. And as always, we're going to try to have a nice dynamic lesson through the set-apart spirit of the Father of Yahuah, through his young son, Yahusha Mashiyach. Now, before we get started, the title of today's class is If Words Could Kill. Again, if words could kill. So this is still a continuation of preparation for the last days and the whole thing that's going on with the prophecies and Revelation, the first chapter. But we said he was going to slow it up just a little bit because there's still a couple of key things that we need to make sure that we have established, because building a strong foundation is going to be extremely, extremely important. All right, so again, if words could kill is going to be the topic of tonight's class. Now, anybody have any testimonies they would like to share? How the Father's been merciful, a blessing, and all of that good stuff in their life since the last time we met.
Yeah, we didn't get that snow.
Yeah, hallelujah. Hallelujah. They was talking about that real heavy, so the Father kept that up north for the most part. So, hallelujah. So, Mr. McCarr, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get the ball rolling. We're going to stand up and face the east. We're going to have our chief Zaken to blow the shofar 7 times for us. And I'll do the prayer. And then from there, we'll read the renewed covenant. And we'll go over the book of Shemot, the 10 Devarim, the 10 words. All right? Everybody's told? All right, everybody's good. Hallelujah. Into temptation, but deliver us from all that is evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the esteem belongs to the Father of Yahuah, forever and ever. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, Mr. McCarr, we'll read the renewed covenant, Yahweh, the 31st chapter, verses 31 to 33. Behold, the days come, says Yahuah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yashra'al and the house of Yehudah, not according to the covenant that I made you with the fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith Yahuah. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Yashra'al after those days, saith Yahuah. I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
The 10 Commandments, the book of Shemot, the 20th chapter, verses 1 through 17. And Yahuah spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuah thy Elohim, which brought thee out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, thy sovereign, thy Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuah thy Elohim in vain, for Yahuah will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it set apart. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahuah thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuah made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuah blessed the Shabbat day and made it set apart. Honor thy father and thy mother, that the days may be long upon the land which Yahuah thy Elohim giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Hallelujah. Everybody's in agreement because everybody read it. Hallelujah. Okay. Mishpachah, Mishpachah, Mishpachah. Hallelujah. So, all right. We pray also for those who were not able to make it here tonight. We pray that they'll be able to watch us on Facebook, or later on throughout the week on YouTube. But we also want to send out a blessing again to those who are not able to make it. May the Father bless them with all esteem. Now, Mishpachah, we're going to be going over a very, very sensitive topic. And I'm going to put out my disclaimer now. This is not a personal attack against anybody. If I have to write this in all caps, okay, please. I mean, it's not a personal attack against anybody. When I do my lessons, I'm not just teaching, I'm also listening to what I'm saying too, because I'm the one that's actually putting the lesson together. So these instructions are also for me. Nobody is excluded. Nobody. And again, this is not a personal attack against anybody whatsoever. And the title of today's class is If Words Could Kill. And actually, in the agreement that we read earlier, when we go to the 10 Commandments in Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 1 through 17, we're going to actually be, verse 9 is going to be extremely important in today's lesson. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. We all say these things. We all say them. But whether or not we're really digesting, when we read the scriptures, are we digesting what we're reading? And a lot of times, we might just read scripture and not really dissect it and get a full understanding of what the scriptures is actually saying. And a lot of times we might miss it. So before we get started, we want to begin by giving all esteem to the Father of Yahuah for his love, his mercy, his kindness, his generosity, all the favors that the Father has been showing us. We want to make sure that we always give esteem to the Father for that. And sending his ultimate love gift, Yahusha Mashiyach, who is and was that atoning sacrifice for the nation of Yashra'al. Again, this is going to be a sensitive class. And again, this is not a personal attack against anybody. And just to show why I'm doing this particular lesson is after Saturday service, I was going to actually do a class based upon who was Jacob actually wrestling. Because a lot of people believe that Jacob was actually wrestling with the Mashiyach. I mean, the headlocks, and they're wrestling and tussling all over the ground, And so there's a Hebraic way of looking at that, all right? And so I was going to do a lesson on that. And so I began to start doing some research, and this is maybe about 7, 8, 9 o'clock, somewhere around that time. And then the father was like, no, I want you to do this lesson here. And I said, I can do that another time. You know what? So he said, no, you're going to do this one here. And so as I was doing my research, it kept leading me back to this lesson that we're going to be doing tonight. All right, so prayerfully we get a nice understanding or overstanding of it. The first thing that we want to tackle is promises, okay? Promises that we, the nation of Yashra'al, don't keep. Again, promises. We made promises at Mount Sinai, and it's coming to the point where we should start to keep our promises. Keep our promises. We're going to need some class participation here, so we want to make sure that everybody is understanding or overstanding everything that's going on. If we can have our brother Solomon, if he can read Isaiah the 54th chapter, verse 4, 5, 6, and 7, please. Nice and loud, because they want to hear your masculine voice.
Yeshayahu, or Isaiah 54, verse 4. Fear not, for you shall not be ashamed, neither be confounded, for you shall not be put to shame, for you shall forget the shame of your youth, and shall not remember the reproach of your widowhood anymore.
All right, so verse 4 is very important, because right now Israel is considered like a widow. All right? Northern kingdom was given a bill of divorce, but eventually what happened now is that southern kingdom was also kicked out of the house. So now we have a groom who was married to a woman, gave this woman a bill of divorce, a letter of separation, and sent her about her business. But scriptures is telling us here now there's going to come a point where the nation of Yashra'al will not be ashamed or confounded anymore. Verse 5 is very important so we can understand what is a relationship. Read on.
Verse 5. For your maker is your husband, Yahuah is his name, and your redeemer, the set apart one of Yashra'al, the Elohim of the whole earth shall he be called.
Okay, so thy maker. So what we have here now is that we're using marriage terminology. All right, so we want to make sure that it's clear. It says thy maker is thine husband, and the word maker is very important. It's the word Asha. Okay, Asha. Not Asha as a female. And that's not what it's talking about. Your maker and your creator. Okay, but again, because here we have vowel points that are placed here. So it's not Isha, but Asha. And that word means to do, to fashion, to accomplish, and to make. And that's the Strong's number 6213. So the one that fashioned us is thine husband. Very important. All right. Israel is the bride. The Mashiyach is the husband. So he's the sovereign of hosts, is his name, and thy redeemer. The word redeemer is very important because the only one that can redeem us from out of this situation would have to be a kinsman. He would have to be of the bloodline of Israel. That's just the way that it operates. Someone from another nation cannot redeem the nation of Israel. Read on.
Verse 6. For Yahuah has called you a woman forsaken, grieving in her ruach.
As a woman. That's what you have?
Yes. For as a woman forsaken and grieved in her ruach, and a woman of youth, when you were refused, says your Elohim, for a small moment have I forsaken you, but with great mercies will I gather you.
Hallelujah. So we see all of these marital terms being used in the book of Yeshayahu, verses 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this is a relationship that the Father is trying to have with us. With this relationship is going to be extremely important because we're living in the very last days. Every single Israelite group recognizes and understands that something is about to hit the fan. And so it is very important for us to understand where we need to be in our relationship with the Father. We read in Revelations, we went through plagues 1 and 2, vows 1 and 2, trumpets 1 and 2, and vows 1 and 2. So being that we're seeing that all these things are about to come, what type of relationship should we have with the Father? Because he's saying that I'm your maker, I'm your husband, but at this particular point in the relationship, we're considered widows. All right, so we're still waiting for that marriage supper to take place so that we can be reunited with the groom. If we're not reunited with the groom, or we're not rehearsing these righteous acts now, there's absolutely no way in the world, according to Scripture, that we're going to get it right during this moving back and forth. Because the Scripture tells us in the book of Ezra, 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, that we're going to be like as pilgrims. That means moving from place to place. We're not going to be stationary, like we're going to hold the fort down with this house here or whatever else that we decide to to live at. That's not how Scripture says it's going to happen. This is the reason why I did a class a couple of years ago, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, on the 42 steps in the sand. We're going to be moving, all right? Moving. So let's make sure that we understand exactly how this is going to all transpire. Let's go to the book of Yahusha, the 3rd chapter, verse 14. If we can get a Koti, Catherine, to read that. That's okay? We good? Zabud?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yahusha, the 3rd chapter, verse 14. So pay very, very close attention to what's going on in verse 14.
Okay. Jeremiah 3, verses 14.
Mm-hmm.
Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahuah, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city, and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
Right, hallelujah. So that word turn is actually shuv, which means to return. So just to let us know that this is a marriage, and if the Father's telling us to return, like we had said last week, you can only return if you were in a relationship with someone. So this is a relationship that has gone sour. The Father gave both houses, northern and southern kingdom, basically the boot. Get out of here. You can't be in the land that I promised you with the behavior and the way that you're conducting yourselves amongst one another. So again, words and how we communicate with one another is going to be extremely, extremely important. Extremely important. The next thing that we want to talk about is that the Father Yahuah has kept all of his promises. Every single last one of them. Every last one of them. The one that has broken wedlock is the nation of Yashra'al, which is us. We're going to go to the book of Yahusha, or the book of Joshua, and that's the 21st chapter. And we're reading verses 43 to 45. And if we can get a Koti, what is your name again, sis? Zihava. Hallelujah. If we can hear from a Koti tonight, we gladly appreciate it. The book of Joshua, the 21st chapter, verses 43 to 45.
And the Lord gave unto Israel all the land which he sware to give unto their fathers, and they possessed it and dwelt therein.
Okay, so watch how the Father's keeping all of his promises. And the Father of Yahuah gave unto Israel all the land which he swore, which was a promise now, to give unto their fathers, and they possessed it, which is the land, and dwelt therein. Verse 44.
And the Lord gave them rest round about, according to all that he sware unto their fathers. And there stood not a man of all their enemies before them. The Lord delivered all their enemies into their hand. There failed not aught of any good thing which the Lord had spoken unto the house of Israel, all came to pass.
Hallelujah. So when we look at that word, just for edification here, we look at that word L-O-R-D. We have what they call the Tetragrammaton, which is actually the Yod, Hey, Hu, Hey. That's considered the Tetragrammaton, or the the tetra, means 4 grammar or letters or words. And so this would be the Paleo, the ancient Hebrew. And if we was to do it in the Aramaic, we have the Yod, Hey, we have the Hu, Hey. So this is, again, the Paleo, and this is the modern or the Aramaic. All right, so again, I just wanted to share with everybody that the Father has kept all of the promises that he made with the nation of Yashra'al and gave the nation of Yashra'al peace and safety. And there was not a nation that could stand up against the nation of Yashra'al. And the Father, again, the groom, has kept all of his promises that he's made to the nation of Yashra'al. If we could get Brother Zabud, Aki Zabud, if he can do Numbers, the 23rd chapter, verse 19.
God is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Has he said, and shall he not do it?
Mm-hmm.
Or has he spoken, and he shall not make it good?
So everybody sees what's going on here with the promises and how that Elohim. So again, when we see the word G-O-D, God, we're talking about actually, in Hebrew, this would be the Aleph and the Lamed, and this is pronounced Al. And in the ancient, it would be, yeah, that's right. And then we would have the Aleph and the Lamed. And so this is actually like singular, and plural would be, as we know, Elohim. Okay? So, is everybody able to see what's going on so far with the promises and everything that the Father has made? And the one that's actually in violation of the wedding agreement is the bride. She is considered the menstruous woman. She's the whore. She broke wedlock, which is us. And what the Father did now was send his ultimate sacrifice, Yahusha HaMashiach, to be that atoning sacrifice to reconcile this oneness or this union back together again. 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, verse, another king, the first.
1 Kings or 2 Kings?
Oh,
never mind.
1 Kings. Yeah, 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, verse 56. If we can get Yaakov, James, if he can read that for us, please.
1 Kings, chapter 8, verse 56. Baruch be the Lord, that hath given rest unto his people, Yashra'al, according to all of that he promised. There hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moshe, his servant.
And that is very important. So we had now the promises that we don't keep, the promises that the Father has kept. In verse 56 speaks volumes. Blessed be the sovereign of Yahuah, that hath given rest unto, singular now, his people, Yashra'al, according to all that he promised. There have not failed one, not one word of all his good promises, or promise which he promised by the hand of his servant Moshe. Okay? So, again, Mishpachah. First of all, we don't do personal attacks. We don't do personal attacks. There's a word that we're going to have to look at. And this word is actually Tazaraf, spelled T-Z-A-R-A-H. All right? And you just break down each letter, because just a little Hebrew here. This right here is a word. So we have Tazah, or in ancient Hebrew, we have Tazah, we have the Resh. Here we have the Resh. the olive, and we have the tau, or the tha. And we have the olive and the tau. So we're going to need to know exactly what's going on with that word there. Uh-oh. This is an ayin, not an olive. This is an ayin, and this is an this is an ayin. Just for edification, the ayin also makes an ah sound. Okay, so this Hebrew letter makes an ah sound. This Hebrew letter makes an ah sound. That's not an O. It's not an O. So again, to further explain what's going on with this word Tazaroth, let's go to 2 Kings. 2 Kings. Watch how this unfolds. 2 Kings, we go start the first chapter, verse. No, 2 Kings, the 5th chapter, verse 1. If we can get a Koti to read half of it, and then we have her each to read the other half. But please pay very, very close attention here. Very close attention. And again, this is not a personal attack against anyone.
2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now Nahum, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him Yahuah had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper.
Okay. He was a leper. That is very, very important. The word leper is zara, all right, sarah. And that's the Strong's number 6879. And it means to be diseased of skin, be leprous, to be a leper, to have leprosy. And then it just goes on into the Strong's definition of primitive root to scourge, that is intransitively and figuratively to be stricken with leprosy and a leper. So let me just say this right off the bat. What we see as leprosy today is not the same type of leprosy for the most part what we see today. And we're going to go into that a little bit later on. So if anybody wakes up tomorrow with a pimple or a bump or whatever like that, that's not leprosy. That's not what we're talking about here, all right? So I'm not talking about your hormones and the changing of your pH balance in your skin and stuff like that. That is not what we're talking about here, all right? This is something totally, totally different. But you must pay very close attention. If you pay very close attention, we all should be good. And like Moray said, we should be cooking with good grease, some kosher grease. All right, so read on.
2 Kings 5, verse 2. And the Syrians had gone out by companies, and had brought away captive out of the land of Yashra'al and a little maid, and she waited on Nahum's wife.
Okay, so this woman here, I can say little woman, but this woman here was, she's an Israelite woman. Read on.
And she said unto her mistress, Would Yahuah my Elohim wear the prophet that is in Samaria? For he would recover him of his leprosy? And one went in and told his Yahuah, saying, Thus and thus said the maid, and this of the land of Yashra'al. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Yashra'al. And he departed, and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. Okay, because we're looking at now here is that we want to cure Naaman now, okay, of his leprosy. Okay, so this king is sending, wealth, a ton of wealth now, because we have Naaman now being a good man of valor. You know, he's a mighty man of war, and so we want Naaman here cured. Read on, please. Want me to continue?
Yes, let's see, half of 27 is what, 13? Okay. So you can read 13, then we have Zabud.
And he brought the letter to the king of Yashra'al, saying, Now with this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Nahum my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Yashra'al had read the letter, that he rent his clothes, and said, Am I Elohim, to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me.
So everybody see what's going on here, right? This is a very, this story here, there's a lot of meat here. Read on.
And it was so, when Elisha, the man of Yahuah, had heard that the king of Yashra'al had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel.
Hallelujah.
So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean.
Hallelujah. So, how many times is he supposed to do this washing?
7 times.
7 times.
Okay, 7 times. And he has leprosy, right? How you saw it? LEP? Okay, hallelujah. Okay, read him, please.
But Naaman was wroth, and went away, and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me, and stand, and call on the name of Yahuah thy Elohim, and strike his hand over the place, and recover the leper. I'm sorry, did I read it again?
Yeah, that was correct.
That's right.
Mhm.
Are not Abana and Partar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in rage. And his servant came near and spake unto him and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldst thou not have done it? How much rather then would he say to thee, Wash and be clean?
Hallelujah. So everybody is following the story here, right? It's very important. Verse 14. Zabud, bring us home.
Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of Yahuah. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of